So, welcome back. We are joined by Katie Henry. Katie Henry, right? Katie is a kindergarten teacher on Long Island.
Pre-K.
Oh, you're pre-K.
Yes.
But Alex is in kindergarten.
Yes.
Were you Alex's teacher?
Last year.
Last year. Got it all now. I got the whole story in 4 seconds, so you guys are going to get an even bigger story over the next couple minutes. So Katie is a preschool teacher, pre-K teacher out in Long Island. And I say this every day, fascinated by Lance's education and how much he appreciates education. And when he touts something that's educated based, it's always something super interesting, right? Unlike mine, I was educated in Haiti. It was like freelance education. It was basically like, does anyone know anything about American history? You do? Can you please teach us? Like literally that is what our education was. But Lance came to me and he said, wait till you hear. My daughter's kindergarten teacher was just spectacular, and she has this way of teaching and blah, blah, blah. And I asked follow-up questions, and he said, why don't we just bring her on and she can explain it herself. So,
Wonderful.
First of all, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Thanks for
having
coming.
me.
Yeah, of course. I really appreciate that. I realize now that I forgot to shut my ringer off.
Very professional. I got introduced for this yesterday, by the way, right? Just
Yes, but I wasn't sitting right here. Yeah, I could hear that. Could you just shut that off? Oh, you know what? I could
Is
do
it
it.
ringing on your phone?
Yeah, it's ringing
wow,
everywhere.
look at that.
I know. Okay, so how are you? And tell me a little bit about yourself.
Doing well. Teach pre-K, and I adore working with young children.
You have to, I guess.
really do. You do. You have to love it because there's so many different dynamics. You're dealing with little humans who come to you with so many emotions, so many things happening in their world. So
Right.
It does take a lot of patience, but it's so rewarding and it's so wonderful. And
Yeah.
each child just brings their own perspective, and from my experience, we just really value what children say and how they think, and we try to just support their creativity because sometimes it gets lost in school or other inputs, but most children
Or it's stifled in sometimes by the teachers, sometimes by the program, sometimes by the system in place.
definitely, and they come to the world with so much creativity. So
Yeah.
we just try to create an environment that's open and that's supportive and kind of gets them to think. So instead of us just telling them information, we want to observe them, notice what they're interested in, and follow their passions. Because when you're learning something and you're excited about it, it just is so much more powerful.
So there's an argument to be made for that, but then there's also an argument to be made for structure and for allowing that creativity to manifest itself within the confines of a broader system that is in place, so they have room to grow, but also all sort of moving in the same direction.
Yes,
Do you agree with that?
That's the big thing that's always asked. How do you make that work? But we definitely, at least from my experience, structure is very important in a child's life. So
Okay.
when they come into the classroom, there's responsibilities, there's jobs. Some things are non-negotiable, like they are in life. But then when we have these opportunities to give them choices within our structure, that's where the magic happens.
Okay.
So we establish our community, our system. How are we going to treat each other? How is it going to work? And then from there, once that's established, then we're able to let that creativity flow. So it's a balance, and the balance is really adjusting from different areas and supporting the children, obviously.
So how is that different than what other educators are doing or teaching right now?
So sometimes I'll compare to some children may go to school and they may come home, say, with a project every day.
Right?
They may be October, so they're studying
Halloween or whatever it
and every
is.
child comes home maybe with the pumpkin that's really cute, and
Sure.
maybe a teacher cut it out and a child maybe glued it on. That's very different than what it looks like from our classroom. So we have because the idea is that it's their interpretation of a pumpkin, and we're going to study pumpkins if they're interested in it, not just because if it's October.
Okay.
So right now my class is interested in construction and movement. We noticed the children kept taking things on the playground and are moving and digging the sand to make tracks, and they're all following each other. So instead of me saying, okay, it's October, we need to do pumpkins, we're talking about construction and movement and what does that look like. So I'm following their passions.
That's really interesting. And what happens if you can't recognize it? Then do you go back to the old mold? I mean, it can't be so obvious all the time.
No, it's very challenging, and I'm constantly questioning myself and my team is constantly questioning what are they interested in, what's the next step, and that's what it's really about, is being comfortable being uncomfortable with children, and knowing that it's not just always a set plan.
Right.
We obviously know we have to teach them their sounds. Phonemic awareness is a very big thing for young children. That's the foundation for reading.
Sure.
For them to hear sounds, rhyming. So we have to make sure that gets intertwined, but when you do it around what they're interested in, it's much more meaningful. So if we notice a group of children need a little support with rhyming, we're going to rhyme through their play or rhyme with them through games that connect to our studies.
So you're not separating the education process from the life they're living, you're marrying them together. You're taking the life that they're already living, the way they play, the way they interact, and then you're going to teach based on that.
Yes.
I mean, it seems obvious to me. So why is that different than the way people are doing it these days?
I think it's hard because we're constantly have to educate parents about this, because if it's what you learned if you learned one way when you were younger and you're successful, and then this is a new way for your child, it's hard not to reflect and say, well, why isn't it the way I did it?
Okay.
Does that work for me? It makes sense to me because I see it with the children, and I see with their parents. My children are having deep conversations. They're questioning the world. They're using sophisticated language. So I think once you're in it, you see it.
Right. But it's hard for parents to understand because they were brought up a much, much different way.
Yes.
Right.
Whereas maybe something drill and skill, and a teacher gives you information and you feed it back. There's just so much more to learning. I mean,
Sure.
there's so much more to life, and this is our future. They're our little citizens. So we have to prepare them to save the planet and all these bigger issues. But we want children to think as problem solvers, problem finders. So it's a big part of it is social dynamics too, of how they learn to be with one another. So as a teacher, we don't just tell them how to behave. Obviously, there's certain things we do intervene, but so-and-so knocked my blocks over. Okay, let's bring it to a group meeting. How do we figure that out? What are solutions? So they're learning at a young age to be responsible, independent, cooperative, and to learn how to work through problems, because it's going to be a skill they need for the rest of their life.
Is it hard to start teaching that way when they've come in pre-K or in, I don't know, 2s or 3s programs? They haven't really learned that, and then maybe the next year it's going to change and they're going to go back to making cornucopias on Thanksgiving week. I remember that damn cornucopia. We always had to draw that thing. I don't even know what a cornucopia is, but every year in Haiti we had to make a big, like it looked like a shofar filled with like 400,000 different fruits and vegetables. I remember trying a Kit Kat in one of them. I had no idea what was happening. But let me tell you, they schlepped out those cornucopias every Thanksgiving in Haiti, by the way. In Haiti.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
went to school there. Wow. What
Yes,
an
we
experience.
thought the same thing. It was definitely an experience. As my friend said, the education wasn't bad. They just gave us no information. That was like the way she described it. So I guess my question is, what happens if people don't carry on that process after kids spend a year with you?
Well, I still think it's within them, so I still think within their writing workshop, or when they go to the art room, when they have other experiences, they still have that foundation of, I can look at something in a new way, or I can respect that person's perspective, or
Sure.
I'm going to do my own study here. I'm interested in this topic, so I'm going to take books out of the library. So I think it's still easy to access that side of them, or that creativity. So I feel like giving them the foundation really will follow through.
Okay. And what's their response? They like it? They're reacting to it?
Children love to come to school.
They do.
They can't wait. They run in. Children want responsibility too, so they want to sign in, write their name, go to their area.
Right.
They are rule followers, so they do like to follow our system, and days that are a little more flexible, it throws them off sometimes, because they do want to work together in the way that where we decide to work together. But it's such a joy, because every day someone comes in with, oh, I did this at home, or can we try this, or we may be learning about something, and then there's a spider on the floor, and there's this big excitement about the spiders, so let's do a study on spiders. And
So you go with what they're experiencing, what they see.
It's really so amazing. It's definitely harder from the teacher side, because we're constantly, okay, so this is what they're showing.
Yeah, I mean, how does that mess with your curriculum?
It's definitely challenging. It's hard, but we weave it in. So it just takes a lot of teachers talking and being open to hearing other perspectives too. So we have to almost model for our students the way we want them to be with our own team. It's not I shut my door, I'm alone. I have
Yeah.
a team and we talk, and what did you see in art class? This is what they're talking about here. How does how can it transfer in art class, or how can it transfer in science? Every year, whatever study we do, the drama teacher always will make our play about our study. So the
Oh,
children help
nice.
write the play, and
Yeah.
they act it out, obviously. And it's just
Last
so
year,
meaningful.
Alex's class did a thing on ladders. Like
Yes.
everything about their series
Okay.
was about ladders.
Oh,
So
nice.
Alex's class, we kept hearing them talk about space. We would hear about it a little bit, and then it kind of die out, and they kept talking about going off to space.
Sure.
So we said, okay, if you didn't have a rocket ship, and this is the teacher side of inquiry, asking questions, how else could you get to space? What else would you do? Let's build a ladder. So we spent a couple months. So how would that ladder work? Where would it be? What are the parts of the ladder? So we had the children in different groups. We had our engineer group. We had our designers, because 3 children said we have to make the ladder beautiful. That was important to them. So
Right.
we made them the designers. So
Love.
so we made blueprints. We tried making ladders of different materials.
Yeah.
So that was, and then we made a whole story, a play about going up to space through a ladder.
That's so great. Is that like experiential learning? I mean, what
Yes,
do you
definitely.
call that kind of education?
Constructivist, experimental, inquiry-based. We're asking questions. They're asking questions. We're not looking for certain answers. We're asking questions. So we're trying to encourage the children we ask an open-ended question just to hear their thinking. Because sometimes when children do ask you questions, if you just say, well, what do you think? Or what makes you say that? They already have their own theory and idea.
Right.
But
They just are so rarely asked.
yes, or what is that? Instead of me saying, okay, that's a blue chair. Well, what do you see? And how is it made? And what's its job? So
But you're still correcting them if they're wrong.
Well, we'll say, how can we find out answers?
Okay.
Should we go ask an expert? Should we read a book? Not just about me just giving them the right answers, but for them to kind of figure it out on their own path.
Is that how you were taught?
I actually went to the school that I work at, and it was definitely along that line, but it was still teachers really directing at early child a little more than, like when I first started teaching, I would do everything for them. I would wash their hands for them, I
Yeah.
would clean up.
Uh-huh.
And the difference now is the independence. It's their classroom, they're take care of their responsibilities, the materials. So in a way, my first experience at school was a horrible one. Sometimes negative things turn into something positive.
Right.
I went to a preschool, and my mom would pick me up, and we'd all be sitting, 4 years old, at the table like this, perfect, not moving, and she just knew something wasn't right. And then many things happened, but kind of the climax was she picked me up one day, and I was hysterical. She could tell I was crying all day. I had made the water in my picture green, and my teacher said, no, water's blue. You have to do it again and make the water blue. I was definitely sensitive as a child, but
Right.
that was stifling my creativity, and that's
Sure.
the way I saw water. in
Now,
the
you like
picture.
a highly chlorinated, there was a lot of algae, there was fungi in the water, and that's
Right.
cool.
And it
You're even
felt
wearing
good
a
to
green
me,
dress.
right. My
Like that.
favorite color,
Listen,
so-
I get that. Not all pools are awesome, not all water's blue.
So I think that's what resonates with me and sits in
Yeah,
my soul almost,
sure.
to let children experience life, and if they see water that way, that's okay.
Right,
and it's their
right.
perspective. So I feel like that negative experience has kind of fueled me to find myself on this path.
Do you encourage other teachers at the school to sort of carry on this form of education throughout the higher grades, or is everyone going to come at it from a different perspective?
Well, everyone perceives things and influences their own way. So we have lots of meetings, and we talk about how can we have children express themselves through what's working in each classroom. Each classroom has their own dynamic, and we do have skills and sets that have to be met, and we understand that. 'Cause
Right.
We want children to be able to read and to write, and
Right.
to be you need that part. So
Sure.
how do we make it in a creative way? And it depends on the person, obviously,
Yeah.
and but our school is a really good team. Everyone's there for the children, so it's a nice place to be.
And what do you tell parents to continue on with that form of learning during the day? How do they carry it on when they're home with the children?
We'll say if a child asks you a question, you don't have to give an answer right away. Ask them what they think, kind of like what I was just talking about. Independence at home, being responsible is a
Give me an
big
example.
thing.
I have a 3-year-old. We're
Oh,
trying to
you?
teach her how to walk her dish to the sink
Oh, wonderful.
afterwards.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So I always say ask, could he or she do that on his own?
Right. So then we're having her macrame the couch because there's a little area. So I want her to do that. Next week she's going to figure out how to put the license plate back onto the car because somebody hit it. So I know it's overachieving, but she's been
bills,
3 for like 3 months now. So I just feel like we're done babying
so
her.
Exciting.
Yeah. Well, we have a 20-month-old and she's doing calculus because she has to figure out our mortgage next month. So we got a lot going on in our
You
house.
seem to have it all set, so that's good.
We have nothing set. I got nothing. Nothing.
I was able to watch some of the clips when I lay down and finally, I have a 60-month-old, so
Oh,
I'm still,
nice.
working, doing that, and
Yeah.
when I lay down in bed, I was looking at some of the clips, and something that stuck out to me. I think you said your daughters were so surprised or had a reaction to when you put a scarf on your neck,
Yes.
and to me that was such an exciting moment that you saw a moment of learning when they were
Yes.
something new, and they saw it in a new way. I think you said they thought, why are you putting coats on your neck?
Right.
Oh, that could be a whole study in a classroom of
Oh, that's so cute.
the job of a scarf or the job of a little coat
Right.
or what else, why do we have coats? So it just kind of was exciting that
Well,
you noticed that.
It's like the story I told this morning. We don't live near a library. If we did, we'd be at the library all the time. So we have tons and tons and tons of books at home, and we read at home, and they get read at school. But they never really knew what a library was. I mean, 20 months and 3. And so I, 6 months ago, I was like yelling at the older one, you need to be using your library voices in the restaurant. She said, okay, what's a library? And I was like, you're right. Like, why would you know that? Like, why not use your cockpit voice? Do you know what a cockpit is? Like, no, why would you know what that is? Of course, so it's interesting to, this is, you've been around children, and I just, you sprinkle your experiences child to child if you're not in education. So now I have children of our own, and we're responsible for 80% of the things they learn, when they're not in school. Like, we have to teach them this, and it's a new role. And it's the one thing that I don't think parents are really taught how to do. You go through the motions. They go to school here, and then check this, and they have to do this after school activity. But it's just, I'm so interested to learn how we can take that just as an extension of what they're learning in school and sort of keep it going without making it seem like they're learning something at home, or if they're in an extended version of school. But ask just something simple, like you said. You don't have to give them the answer right away. Ask them questions. Talk about it. I
Yes,
love that.
and
I
give
love
them time. It's hard too in our culture that we want answers, we want the product. Just
Right.
give them time to experience. Even in the bathtub, they're thinking as mathematicians. If you're giving them cups and they're mixing, I mean, that's them thinking as mathematicians. So that's
Right.
why we have to say we don't just not just do math, but think as a mathematician,
Right.
or think as a scientist,
Yeah.
or think as a reader, or think as an artist. But children love real materials. They love bringing in leaves. They love creating the sticks. They love using real plates. They love real things. They love things that are open-ended, not a toy that says, okay, this is the one way this functions,
Right.
and that's the way you use it. How could you use it a different way? They like, even if you notice, if you give children presents, sometimes they like the bag and the box better than the toy, because
Right.
they can transform the box into
To other
a
things.
spaceship
Yep.
or whatever.
Not my kids. My kids want the toy. I don't know how they know, but that's all my kids like. How did I get it out of this thing, this holder,
Put it
fast enough to
together.
get into the toy? Well, I'm fascinated by this, and I'm so appreciative of you coming on and sharing it with us. And it's nothing to you. It's the way you do things. It's your everyday. It's obvious to you, right? It's second nature. But I think to a lot of people, it's novel and it's new, and it's a great concept that makes perfect sense. So thank you very much. And I know Lance is thrilled with what you did with his daughter, Alex.
Alex,
And
yeah.
so it's
It was amazing. I miss her and hearing her thinking.
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Do you want to come in here and work with our child 5 days a
Oh,
week?
I'd
That would
love
be
to.
amazing with little Harper and Quinn.
But I also see, sorry to interrupt, as not an expert. Even I feel like a lot of things I'm saying I've heard from other influences,
Sure.
whether it's so Reggio Emilia is kind of part of the influence, which comes from Italy. That's where the part of the philosophy comes from, and this is the way they view children. I also Lance gave me or suggested a book, The Beginner's
We
Mind.
talked about it this month.
Yep.
And I feel like I constantly think about that too. That how can I approach this with the beginner's mind?
Right.
So I feel like I'm always thinking, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just trying it out and
Yeah.
tweaking, and I think that's part of the whole
Every
process.
day.
Yeah.
Bradley,
day.
we actually, what was going on before, just so you know, was it's the first time out here that our cameras overheated.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they all were shutting down. And so
Oh.
because we increased the size, I think normally I've been hanging over the camera.
Yeah, so you've been keeping it a little
I've been
cooler.
keeping it cooler. And so today,
In case you're wondering about other things that have overheated. I'm fully overheated.
It's
but
hot out today.
I thank you so much for coming in and for talking about this, and come back and share your experiences, and good luck with your 16-month-old. What's her name? His name?
Jimmy.
Jimmy. She sounds
Jimmy.
adorable. That's
She's
awesome.
amazing.
Yeah, she's probably the best. The best. This is Katie Henry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna take a break.
Take a break.
We'll
Let's
be
grab a picture.
back. Okay. Hi. How are you?
It's pretty hot up here.
Yep.
It
I'm
is.
gonna run downstairs. All right.
So this is nice. So each apartment gets like a stipend.
Yeah, for the most part. Some of them don't have.
It's live. This camera's live.
We're also both split sweating. So.
Yes.
Hi, how are you? Hi, I'm Summer. Hi, Summer. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Right your way.
Not at all.
Good job.
My friend Summer. Nice to meet you.
Okay, so yeah, they all really fresh. Connell, let's move them out of the sun during the break. Everything good? meet you too.
Hi, nice to meet you.
I guess this is great.
All right. Just reset. We're good now. Where's my bag? Here it is. Hey, where's that sunscreen you have, Connor?
Yeah, sorry. No, that's why I put it on like a.
Do you have any white on me? I can do it. Shit, what is this, Connor? Connor?
Jenny, you're good to go.
What kind of stuff is this?
This is something Nirvana puts on their fans.
Seriously, what is going
No,
on?
no, man.
We have a 4-hour show to do. I'm like,
I didn't think that.
thank God I didn't put it on my face. What? Oh, you want to see sunscreen on?
You're Jimmy Critters.
I don't want to complain because I know that in a little few weeks we're all going to be laughing. Freezing.
Our phones aren't going to be overheating. That's why we started this out twice.
Oh, is that why? I feel like I'm down on the beach. Turks and Caicos action. All right, let's go. It's a great sandwich. I told you. I told you. They make great sandwiches. This is Rex. Wait till you try their lunch sandwich. I want to say hi to some more people. I feel like we were a lot of people down. Oh, you're eating. Of course, I always get you when you're eating.
I'm always eating. Try to lose weight.
I had to change. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It was super hot. Do you approve, Lance? Connor?
What?
I went from a fancy shirt to a not so
Yeah,
fancy shirt.
looks great. Yeah, that would be better than the sun.
Is this black?
I'm going to wrestle while we eat this thing, Russ. On TV show.
It says, live simply and love generously. I think that's Lance's motto. Lance, this can't possibly be straight.
No, no.
This is going to be better for your
I
eyes
know,
and your
but I
back.
have tires and this shield.
Okay.
My main thing right now is to try to keep this.
Oh, okay. All right, what do we got?
We have Love the View.
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful view.
Lauren Trainor says we have
Hey, look, Michael Strahan?
Lauren,
Same joke yesterday.
yeah, just so you know, we're awesome. We're on to different things. Questions. We're all together.
It's okay. Nothing can rattle me today, Lance. Oh, my soul is already overheated. But if anyone is new, I'm happy to say hello to them. But I can't imagine there would be anyone new because
Okay, so
everyone else
Jill-
is inside of the air conditioner.
Jill says it all starts with going back to the old ways and learning. Sing the song emotional ways, sings the way.
Yeah.
Lots of love to sing. Grandparents are great learning tools. Being mom, Korean, grandma, too.
Wow.
3 hours all about
Should I give her? Or is that going to be our go-to place now?
I'm not sure.
I told you. Did you tell her about the 9-piece band that is going to sing with instruments? Is that
I
why?
was kidding. No. Susan and
Anyway.
I love each other.
Listen, we're looking for a place. Let's just say that. So if anyone's got a really cool space in New
I think
York
we're going to
City,
rotate a little bit just in general.
fine. But